And the next iteration of it all, I think, is Web3 and crypto. How does Web3 get integrated in a way where it makes sense for people to be a part of it? And I think we're a first mover in that. We're definitely a first mover in that in the beverage space. And that's how I think we have something different.
Other founders or people that are trying to understand how to create this unified incentive structure when sometimes the equity and the token are two separate things.
As you guys are shepherding and pilgriming like into those other industries, you're gonna have some sort of value accrual back to the token in a regulated, compliant way.
Welcome back to the Rollup. We are your hosts. I'm Andy.
I'm Robbie, and this is your home to learn from the biggest guests, the brightest minds at the tip of innovation.
Our goal is to help spread the collective knowledge of everyone in our community.
We are breaking crypto out of its echo chamber and taking it to the real world.
Yeah, let's get OSF up, and then we can continue the hyperliquid stablecoin and ledger conversation shortly. But OSF, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
12 out of 10 setup right there, brother.
Well, I've run out of space to keep all the drinks in the kitchen, so I have to keep them in my office now, basically. So
more money, more problems. You know what they say, Rav?
I like the packaging too, the yellow and the purple pops.
That's the 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵 we're launching very soon. So it's the first time people will see it on screen.
And I think I caught wind of an abstract drink. Abstract apple?
Mm.
Yeah.
This one right here is the abstract one. We did that one back in
Let's go.
Yeah, did that back in
Rekt,
April, I think.
OSF, do these have caffeine in them?
These don't at the moment.
Okay.
Moment. So these are just flavored sparkling water, like no caffeine, no alcohol, very little sugar, just pretty run of the road. But we are working on other products that we'll be releasing later this year and next year, which will be a bit different. So
awesome. Well, man, okay, so maybe for our community, it's kind of new Rekt, OSF, kind of what you guys are building. Maybe you can just lay the foundation for us, and then this can be a fun conversation. Kind of like what is the whole brand? What has been your vision? How did this come about?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it came about in quite a random way. So our original project was an NFT collection called Rekt Guy, which we launched like 3.5 years ago. It was back in 2022. And I did the art for it, like I was the artist for it. And it really was just a side project. So I just spent evenings and weekends doing it, had zero intention for it to be anything big. We had zero roadmap. It was even a free mint. Like we gave the entire thing away for free. Then everything nuked, like markets crashed in 2022 and everyone kind of like got wrecked. So people found it as a place to come and drown their sorrows. And then I think over the next couple of years, we just built like a very, very strong community and a strong following. And we felt like Rekt had a lot of potential as something beyond just an internet community and beyond just our Discord and whatnot. So, inspired by 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵 and 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵, we decided to go down the path of making a physical product. And we decided drinks because they're cheap to manufacture, you can mass produce them. And our goal is like, how do we get Rekt, the brand, the logo in as many places as possible? Especially with crypto, there's quite low hanging fruit because there are events across the world throughout the year where you can have these drinks. And it's basically like, free marketing. Everyone wants to drink something, here's a drink, have it. And it has like a big Rekt logo in front of it. Like it's just basically, a bit of a Trojan horse for marketing. So yeah, we went down that path and, fast forward to now, we've sold almost 1 million cans in the space of about 12 months. And it's all powered by our brand coin, which is Rekt coin. And the way that it works is every time you purchase drinks, you're able to earn some of this coin. Not the first consume to earn product. Like there's been tons of consume to earn products out there and a lot of them have failed. But I think the difference for us is we built this brand and community and following for a long time, for years before we even launched the token. And then when we launched it, there was like a natural home for people to want to have it and be a part of it. So I think that's the key difference there. But yeah, that's kind of a quick run through in a couple of minutes, I'd say.
Introducing Extended exclusively on Starknet, a next-gen perps trading platform live today. With 50+ trading pairs from crypto to TradFi, you get the best experience on-chain today. Deposit in the community vault for attractive returns, EMV compatible, and engage in unified margin, spot trading, lending, and perps trading. Exclusively live at extended.app on Starknet today. I think I'd like to get the Rekt drink sponsorship so that way, like,
let's go. So we can sip.
when I'm sipping on the stream.
I got regular coffee here. I'm not sponsored
Well,
by Hydro Flask.
That's why I asked if there's any caffeine in those things, because I was like, look, man, I wanna get into this. I want this Rekt drink sponsorship. We'll have to ask OSF when he gets back. Rob, I mean, look, we'll talk to OSF about this kind of community NFT equity dynamic.
I want to get,
yeah,
I want to get his perspective on like what launching a chain means for a consumer brand, because I think we're, the Rollup is maybe closer. The brand coin, Rekt coin, which they've launched ticker, hashtag Rekt.
Yeah,
and so I think the Rollup as a media brand is probably closer to this consumer. In this case, a beverage brand, even though there's physical products, I think we're closer to it than maybe, a blockchain. And so when it comes to launching a coin, it's like, what is the mechanism here? Like, why the coin? What's the value accrual like? And just kind of getting his.
I've been just talking to 𝗀𝗟𝘂𝗧 about his Pump Fund streamer coin, and it's been a funny. All right, it's been a funny kind of couple days of talking about it. All right, we got OSF back. I think his audio is fixed. Sorry about that, folks. We'll get him up, and he's back.
OSF, we were just talking about a couple of things actually. One is. Let's collab. I mean, I'm drinking coffee out of a Hydro. Yeah. We're not sponsored by
I'm
Hydro.
Sitting here drinking a Yeti. I mean, I could just be sipping Rekt every day.
We will, I'll hit you guys up afterwards. We'll definitely send you guys some drinks for sure. Definitely.
Every day
to get them on stream.
We'll just
for sure.
be sipping. That's why I asked if there's a caffeine one, but I imagine there's like FDA requirements and more kind of headache when you start to put different things in the drink.
Yeah, it's not as easy. When you just do sparkling water, it's pretty easy to roll it out. So caffeine products, energy products take more time. And, especially these days, stuff like caffeine drinks, focus drinks, that kind of stuff is like quite massive, but just takes a bit of time. But yeah, we will get there for sure pretty soon.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, we're super curious about this brand coin, right? Like this idea of a token which represents some sort of speculative and community and brand value in a brand. I mean, look, like there aren't very many of them. I mean, I think we've already talked about pudgy penguins. We're obviously big fans there, but like there is this new idea of streamer coins and now brand coins. Maybe you could kind of unpack the philosophy of a brand coin and like how you see this democratization of I guess speculative ability of people's brands and ideas globally, and how you kind of see this in Rekt's case. I think you guys have a very strong community around this Rekt token. It also had an insane run this last couple months. Talk to us about what this brand coin idea is and how you guys are harnessing this power with Rekt drinks.
Yeah, look, I think it's very important for this world of meme coins and speculative coins and everything, right? Like, why does a traditional finance person usually buy something? Because they think it's cheap. Why do they think it's cheap? Because they're using some sort of valuation model based usually on cash flows to deduce that this is cheap versus where it's trading, right? Now, if you have something like a meme or a creator coin, how do you value that, right? Like it's hard. You can't really judge the cash flows. Like maybe you can look at volume and the rewards it generates, but it's very hard to judge that, right? It's completely finger in the air, but it doesn't mean it's valueless because people have sentiment. People sometimes they want to buy something to express sentiment rather than just being like, oh, I want to buy it because my valuation model says this and this is what my quant says, right? That's not how every human thinks or reacts. So, with every single company in the world or every single brand, you have something called your intangible brand value, right? It exists for everyone. Why did I buy that $50 t-shirt instead of the other $50 t-shirt? Because I like the brand. I like how it looks, or I like how it makes me feel, or I like the brand messaging or whatever it is, right? And every company has an item on their balance sheet called goodwill, which is their intangible value of the brand, right? Coca-Cola has an $18 billion line item on the balance sheet called goodwill, which is the result of the premium they've paid for that acquisitions over the net asset value. So it's a real concept in traditional corporate finance, but it's something that people can't trade, right? It's like it's governed by a one-off transaction by two parties. It's impaired by an accountant over time. And it's just this value on your balance sheet, this number on your balance sheet that is intangible and fixed, and you can't do anything with it, right? But with crypto, why would someone buy Rekt coin if it doesn't own the equity, it doesn't directly benefit from revenues, doesn't own the IP? Why would anyone want to buy it? Because they like the brand, they like Rekt. It's like the whole Roaring Kitty meme, right? I like the stock. Like that's the only reason why they would buy it. But that is, you can equivalate that to, this is the intangible value of our brand. Why would someone want to buy it for any other reason? Because they like the brand. That's it. That's the reason, why someone buys it. That's the reason why lots of people buy it. And I think that's a really important concept that most traditional finance people can't get their head around, but are now starting to really understand. And that's what's driven a lot of price action in crypto, like something like SPX, right? People believe it's, yeah, sure, it's crazy, it's at 1.5 billion or whatever, but like that's because there's enough people out there who believe in that as a movement. It's kind of like a brand, kind of. It's not really a brand, but it's
added
a movement.
To Coinbase today.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a real thing. And by the way, if you disagree with it, fine, because millions of dollars of volume go through every single day, and you can go out there and short it. You can literally take the other side of it. There is a market for it. There's a market that trades every single day. So I think it's a really powerful concept. And I think, for a challenger brand like us, like for us to compete with Coca-Cola or Pepsi, etc., like it's pretty hard to do that, right? But this unlocks a lot of value for your brand, and it allows you to do interesting things. And for us, the token's gone as rewards to our early supporters, who have made money on it and will continue to do so if we do well. So it really aligns your consumers with your vision and kind of makes them into stakeholders. So I think it's a very powerful concept. I'm not saying anything new, right? All this stuff has existed in crypto for many, many years, but I think we've just applied it to a traditional business and product that people understand. And what I found with this messaging for a brand coin is like everything in crypto, when I try to explain to my normie friends, they don't get it. But this is the first thing I just explain to them, and they're like, oh, I get this, right? Like it's like loyalty points, but I can actually sell them and get real money for it. Like it's a very simple concept, but unlike loyalty points, it's not unlimited. There's a fixed supply, and you can actually trade it and get your money for it. So I think it's a very powerful concept. There are a few other examples out there, and I think it's a concept that will take off in crypto, because I do feel like we're at a point now where people are kind of tired of just mindlessly trenching, and I think they want something a bit more, with a bit more substance behind the coin.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally spot on, and I think you actually get to a broader point here, which it seems like you guys have addressed just based on some of the initial research that we had done, which is that there's kind of this dichotomy right now in crypto, which was around the labs and the foundation entities of certain coins. So there's like the labs equity and the foundation token, and so there's kind of like this equity versus token dynamic, and now we're seeing it at large. Like Uniswap was thinking about, I think, and they still are, about going and like IPOing the Uniswap company for the equity, but then they have the token. And same with something like a 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵. What if they try to do an IPO? How do you kind of balance this equity versus token dynamic? And so from what I understand is that you guys ended up giving some either like token or equity, if you will, to NFT holders, and then have figured out a unique way to kind of like merge these two so the incentives are all aligned. Maybe talk us through like any advice or thoughts that you have for other founders or people that are trying to understand how to create this unified incentive structure when sometimes the equity and the token are two separate things. How have you kind of managed this situation, and what is some thoughts, or what are some of your thoughts on navigating this for other crypto projects?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you're right, we actually gifted equity to our NFT holders last year. We took a snapshot, did it through an SEC exemption in the US, and it was all done with an SEC registered dealer broker and everything. So my view on that was like, okay, let's get everyone on the same page, everyone on the same team. We have the team, investors, NFT hold, like community and collectors, everyone owns equity in it. So everyone's on the same team, right? Because in the past, I think you had NFT projects that would raise a lot of capital, and then it's like, okay, now we have to like return value to our investors. How do we do that? We just like consumerize our community, and we'll just sell you more NFTs, dilute you, and make money off you, and then it kind of like changes the intentions, I think. So that was a big thing for us, which actually put everyone on the same level playing field. And yeah, it's a good point. We had the same setup where our company, the operating company that owns the IP and all the drinks revenues go to, is a Delaware registered company, and then there's a Cayman an offshore foundation where the token sits. I think now in this regulatory environment, you would just do it all out of the US, because it's much more conducive for crypto activity in the US. And unfortunately, we were a year, 12 months too early for that, like many people. But I think there are very clever ways you can combine the two. And I think there are so many very, very big crypto projects out there, like way bigger than us. Uniswap is one that you mentioned, like tons of them, who all have this setup, right? So I'm convinced that there will be some sort of solution to combine this setup in a way where it makes sense and makes it efficient, whether it means two entities get rolled into one entity and that's what, you know, comes to the market when people IPO and stuff, or there are other, I think, clever ways that you can combine the two, or at least, you know, have the value accruing to the final entity that people want to be at. So I think there'll be ways to do it. And yeah, it's tough to get your head around whether you want to own equity in something, if you want to own the token. We're moving to a world of potentially having tokenized equity. So how does that change things? And I think, you know, for someone like us, we have to think about ways where if we do see a world where every equity is tokenized and private equity is tokenized, there needs to be some sort of value accrual to the token from the equity, but within the confines of, you know, securities regulation and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And whether it's something like, okay, you can burn the token for the equity, and can you work out the mechanics around that so it makes sense? I'm not really sure what the answer is, but you have to, I think every project has to start thinking forward for that and find ways where you ensure that the token doesn't get left behind. So, and I think there'll be solutions, like I said earlier.
What do you think this looks like in 6 months to a year? I think you guys are probably going to try to expand out of the crypto brands and start to, you know, scale the drink beyond this industry. And then as you guys are shepherding and pilgriming like into those other industries, you're going to have some sort of value accrual back to the token in a regulated, compliant way. Where do you guys see yourselves in 6 months to a year? And then how do you think that'll link back to the token?
Yeah, the easiest way to get value to the token is buybacks, right? You know, Hyperliquid is case in point for it, and that's the gold standard. I think we've done a handful of buybacks with drinks revenues already. We don't have a specific mechanic in place for it yet because, you know, like, I think we're probably on course to do something like $5 million of revenue this year, right? And let's say 10% goes back towards buying the token, that's 500K, and people are not going to get excited about that. But let's say do $100 million of revenue, which I think is very possible in the functional beverage space, and 10% goes to it. And, you know, just making these numbers up, that's $10 million. And people are like, oh shit, that's a lot of, you know, that's a lot going up into token buybacks, right? But you want to announce it at a point where people get excited about it and it means something. And I think you have to build the story before you start doing that. And I know Luca has been asked this question a handful of times, and there was a he did a podcast last week and he spoke about his strategy for that, and I completely agree with his ideology on that too. In the next 6 months, we have to break out of Web3. Like, I think for us to hit $100 million of revenue, which I think is very possible in the space we're entering, we have to start appealing to normal people. The product itself has to be good. What I would say is in the last 12 months, you've had 4 different functional beverage companies, Olipop, Poppy, Alani Nutrition, and Ghost Energy, who've all raised capital or been acquired for valuations between $1.5 and $2 billion. And these are like new companies. They're like 5 to 7 years old. They're not old companies, right? And they've done it in a very short space of time. And the drivers of their success have been entering the functional space. So whether that's like energy, focus, hydration, like all that kind of stuff is massive right now. And the other thing is social media. Like, all these guys have been killing it on the social media front, have big Instagram followings, have influencers, all that kind of stuff. And I think in terms of the history of brands, you've had the first iteration was like physical stores, people go into physical stores, buy stuff. Then you had the internet, I go into Amazon, buy something. Then you had social media, stuff like Prime. Okay, I see Logan Paul drinking it, like I want to drink it. And the next iteration of it all, I think, is Web3 and crypto. How does Web3 get integrated in a way where it makes sense for people to be a part of it? And I think we're a first mover in that. We're definitely a first mover in that in the beverage space. And that's how I think we have something different, that we can combine the two things to do something really special, I think. And that's what we're pushing towards.
Very cool.
So OSF Rekt is sitting at 330 mil FDV or so right now. How do you get this thing to 2 or 3 bill? What's the 10x here?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think when people start seeing that top line revenue number go materially higher, that's when people get excited. Like, we're going to end this year at 500% higher revenue than we were last year. So that's already it's already like a massive increase, right? We're on course to sell 1 million drinks in our first 12 months, which I need to verify this, but I think it hasn't been done since Red Bull in the 90s or Mike's Hard Lemonade. So all this stuff is like only possible within crypto, right? So within the crypto space, people want to see, oh, these guys are actually selling drinks in supermarkets, or they want like a pudgy style Walmart headline. And now Rekt is stocked across thousands of stores in the US and globally. And it's a product with a massive target addressable market. If we can like nail that story and those revenues, then I think people will be like, oh shit, this can be really big, right? That's just the crypto. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
where are you guys now? Where can we buy Rekt?
It's just D2C from our website. We did a 7-Eleven store activation a couple of months ago in LA, and then we'll have some stuff coming up later this year. But right now, all our sales, vast majority of our sales have been just D2C from our website, which some people say, oh, that, shit, you should be in more stores and stuff. But I think the fact that we've done that amount of sales just from our website, you go tell that to a distributor, they're like, oh shit, like we should be distributing this, nationwide, right? So when we start doing that, you have to imagine that number goes up a lot, right? That number does another 3x, 5x, 10x, whatever it is. So that's the story for it. We have to build our credibility in the traditional beverage space, right? We have to show we're not a one-trick pony. We have to show we're not crypto scammers. We have to show there's a real business behind it, a real community behind it. But over time, we've been proving that. It was hard after our first sale, but now after our 5th or 6th sale, when all the drinks sell out in a couple of minutes, repeatedly, like there's a strong story there. So we'll have more announcements and some big stuff, I think, coming up before the end of the year and also next year. But that growth for like, just a drinks company, can actually be pretty big, can actually be very big. Yeah. And we have something unique, I think, to that industry that no one else has.
Man, I'm telling you, the Rollup TV daily live stream sponsorship is going to send sales to the absolute biggest stratosphere. So just get those things ready, boys and girls. If you're watching this right now, I'm going to be sipping on Rekt. OSF, I wanted to further zoom in a bit more on this kind of 10x here for a Rekt token, right? I mean, whatever it is, kind of getting to the next level. You did mention some of the buybacks, how you felt about that. Luca did have a clip that I saw go pretty viral recently saying, and the text was just buybacks are stupid. I wanted to give you a chance to piggyback on that. Maybe we'll quote tweet that with the clip here. Like, do you agree firmly that there's a certain level in which buybacks should occur? Do you think that it's kind of silly in the early stage to be just buying a token instead of investing into the business? Kind of, what is your brutally honest take about buybacks with regards to Rekt and the Rekt token on its mission to kind of, 10x from here to the multi-billion-dollar FDV mark?
Yeah. So look, people are obsessed with buybacks because of Hyperliquid, right? But Hyperliquid is not the only project in crypto that does buybacks. It's not the first project that does it. You have had stuff like Radium, stuff like Rollup. A lot of the casino stuff have done it, and they haven't worked out. They haven't really worked out. Even though you do the maths and the fees are being generated are crazy, and the token should be a lot higher, they haven't always worked out. The reason why it makes perfect sense for Hyperliquid is because they have that thing fully greased, up and running. It's a machine. It's a machine that prints revenues, and all they need to do is attract more users. And it makes sense to just, spend those fees and buying their token. That business model makes perfect sense. But when you're growing a brand, whether it's Pudgy, whether it's Rekt, your growth is a result of how much money you spend on growing the business, right? So if we just sat here and put all our revenues into buying back the token, number one, we'd be fucked on tax basically, because token buybacks you can't offset against your corporate tax. Number two, every dollar we'd spend on that is a dollar we could have spent on growing the business, right? So like, we're not gonna make this thing go. We're not gonna 10x our revenues just by buying back Rekt coin. We're gonna 10x our revenues by getting a big distribution bill, being in thousands of stores, like spending a bit on marketing to get the presence of Rekt like much larger in the Web 2 space and the traditional space. Like these are all the same things that are probably going through Luca's mind, where it's like, okay, we can make Pengu massive like in the world if we spend money to grow the business. And then when you get to a certain point where it's like, okay, we have a massive 9-figure annual recurring revenue rate, now it's time to like start buying back the token. But guess what? By that point in time, your token's going to be higher anyway. Like your token goes up because of the success of the underlying company and the business and the brand. If we kill it, and if we don't buy back any tokens from now until, let's say, 2027, but we 5x our revenues and we have, a massive presence as a drinks brand, the token's going to be higher. It's just going to be higher. I mean, as you mentioned, we're up a lot in the last 3 or 4 months. And the last buyback we did were in like April and May. And just in that time frame, we've just been killing it on drink sales, and we're up. It's up, whatever it is, 2,000%. So I think people just get so obsessed with like, I want to have this buyback mechanic, but you don't necessarily need it, because people understand that this is how businesses work. And compared to stock buybacks, right? Like, people don't just sit there and buy back their stock all day long. They buy it back when they think it's cheap. So another thing that Luca was talking about, and they buy it back when it makes sense. So I think in the early stages of growth, it doesn't always make sense. We bought back tokens this year because we thought it was extremely cheap versus what we had planned and what we view the business as. And if those opportunities present themselves again, we will buy back tokens.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Is like Luca's like, why am I just going to bid my token up in FOMO when I can just set actual bids lower where we think there's fair value and try to create more of a floor rather than try to chase my own coin. So yeah, I got you. What is it like working with Farouk and the FOMO Hour guys and the other team members? Kind of like, what are some of like the, if you had to glaze some of your awesome, friends and team members, like what is the one or two things that like create separation from an entrepreneur perspective for somebody like Farouk or some of your other partners? Like, what are some key characteristics? And I'll give an example is that I've noticed that meticulousness in everything across certain investors and entrepreneurs, which is very, very common, that they want to do everything just right, perfectly, and have a meticulous desire to have everything be exact. And I found that is a trait of somebody, who is going to, do big things and kind of be able to scale at a higher level. Curious, with some of your partners and close friends, what are some of the things that make them great? That you've picked up on for yourself and your own abilities?
Yeah, look, I've known like Farouk pretty much since I joined crypto in 2021. Mando, I've known him for about more than 10 years now. We used to work together before entering crypto. And I think the main thing about all these guys, anyone who's really successful in this space, is people stick it out through the tough times, right? They don't give up during bear markets. I mean, Farouk's been cancelled like 79 times, right? Like, most people will just leave, but he's stuck it out and now he's doing very well. I mean, the guy interviewed Trump, right? Like last year, probably the biggest possible interview you could land in, and the biggest thing he could do in his profession. So these guys will just stick it out through the tough times. And that's what you need to do, because a big part of crypto is getting people to buy into your personal story. And if you're someone who just turns up every day through a 2-year bear market, whatever, keeps building, keeps trading, keeps offering advice, whatever it is that you do, but if you're just there and you're like, yeah, I know this is shit, but I'm just going to stick it out just because, people will remember that. And then when the times are good, you have a strategic advantage versus other people, because they're like, oh shit, I remember that guy. He stuck it out the entire time, didn't just like sell the top and leave and then come back. Like, no, everyone hates that guy, right? People like the people who stick around, and that allows you to build a following and get people to believe in what you're doing. And it doesn't really matter what it is that you're doing, people will believe in it. And that, I think, is the most common trait of people who I perceive to be successful in this space.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, I think you're right. I mean, that has led to a lot of our brand's growth just in this last 18 months. People are like, oh, what is the Rollup new? Like, like the last year, I've seen you guys everywhere. And I'm like, dude, if only you saw us 5 years, just grinding, right? Just to get even to a point, like even this whole live stream thing is just like, it's just this constant iterative process, right? And so I think you're spot on there. Wanted to kind of even zoom out even further, a bit more of a broader question as well, outside of just like what you guys are doing with the partners and the team, just more broadly on growing your audience in the space. What have been some of the most impactful things that you've done either with your audience or to grow your audience that other creators can learn from, right? So I've got like 71K on Twitter. I've seen you're in the couple hundred of thousands. Obviously, it was a big 2021 retail cycle, but you've done a lot of things right. What are some of the things that you've done right in growing your audience? And then what are some of the potential mistakes that you've made that other creators could learn from as well?
think there are two in this space. There are probably 3 reasons why someone would follow someone, and that probably condenses into 2. One of them is you just find someone funny or entertaining or whatever. Like if someone posts good memes, you follow them, right? The other one is like if someone's giving out good advice. If it's good, helpful, useful information, good advice, like, yeah, I'll follow that. And the third reason is if you perceive they can make you money, which is kind of like similar to the one before because, you know, they're related things, obviously. So for me, I think I gained an early following because I don't know, did some good trades, and I kind of like, I'd write out like my thought process and stuff. I've never really been like a pump and dump type person, you know, like for me, it's not really like that enjoyable to do something like that. And I think every time I've done trades, I've been like, hey, this is my thought process behind it. Here's what I've done. Here's where I think it can go. And then, you know, if I've made money on it, or if I've lost money on it, you own up to it, right? Like you have to be honest with your followers, I think. So, but I think, you know, having had some early success, that helped me gain quite a large following. But I think being direct and honest about what you're doing is better. You know, it's better to say, you know, there are people out there who get paid to shill coins, right? Like that's just like a thing in crypto. So if someone goes like, hey, I've been paid 10 grand to shill this coin, but I really like it and I think it's going to go higher, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Like maybe you're right. Maybe it does go higher, but at least you're honest. Whereas someone doesn't tell you they've been paid and they're like, oh, this thing's going to go like a bill. And then it's just kind of like, okay. And you find out, they're like, okay, I wouldn't trust that guy. Right. So I think it's about being completely honest about what you're doing in the space and being transparent. And I think the second thing is like, how, you know, can you be creative or interesting and do things where people can make money off what you're doing? And I think for me, you know, Rekt guy was a free mint. I've given out a lot of my artwork for free. Our holders got equity in the company for free. They got Rekt coin for free. So there's this like perception that, oh, if I keep following OSF and get involved in this Rekt stuff, like maybe I'll make some money for free. And there are people in our community who've been there since, you know, the first day, like almost 4 years ago now, who've probably made thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars just from like, you know, sticking around and figuring out like what we're doing and what we're planning, and not really having to like put much money into it, right? And I think that's, you know, if you can actually successfully make money for people, you will get a large following in whatever you're doing. That's just like, you know, it's just one of those things, right?
Yeah, it's a principle that we've talked about. We call it economic karma.
Yeah.
Make money for people and like it'll come back around.
Exactly.
Awesome. OSF, I don't have much else for you. Andy, what else?
I got a couple more for sure.
Let them rip.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you think like most successful consumer brands will launch tokens? Like, do you see this as a viable path for like, I don't know, like Pokemon, like maybe not Pokemon, right? But like, I don't know, Yeti, this mug, right? Like, is there going to be a Yeti coin just because like we can, or like how do you see this path between, let's call them mid-sized companies who probably don't have what it takes to IPO, nor really want to go through that whole process? Like, do you see the tokenization of consumer brands as a trend that like accelerates, or is it kind of just in the early innings? Like, where do you see this broadly?
I don't see every mid-sized company doing it. I don't see big companies doing it. I see lots of people trying, but I don't see them being successful at it. And the reason is, for a token to do really well, you need to have this massive community around you. And the community needs to be crypto native. They need to understand what's going on, and they need to believe in it. And it's also, it's an underdog story, right? It's like Rekt is an underdog story. It's like, can we fight the big boys using crypto? And that's what people are trying to get behind this story. If Pepsi came and did a token, people kind of, you know, it would rip, it would do really well, it'd be like a daily runner, and then it would probably get sold down. It would get sold down over time because, like, you know, no one in crypto is really going to care to own something like that. It will have some sort of floor value, but that's it. Whereas there's no mission there, right? It's like what 𝗵𝗏 says about SPX and other coins. You need a mission behind it. You need a mission coin. And for Rekt, there's a mission. It's like, you know, let's battle with the big boys, and, you know, let's see if we can get up there in the traditional world using crypto. So if Yeti does a token, like, you know, what's the mission behind it? Why would someone want to own it? It doesn't really feel like there's good messaging there. And I think for an existing non-crypto brand to have a token that does well, they need to spend years in developing and building a crypto community and following before they even think about doing a token. And then when they do a token, it will be successful. Otherwise, it will just be an extraction event, and it will actually be damaging to their reputation. And we've seen that many, many times with celebrity coins and whatnot. You know, you guys know the story, right? So I don't need to tell you.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I see 𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵 like he's pushing out on trying to like get different artists on chain, and he's like, somebody was like, should we hit up 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃 to do a token? And he was like, look, I think we should probably just wait until we have an actual really good use case to present to these people that isn't just like, let me scam my followers. We got to kind of figure out, maybe there's a new model that comes out on the consumer side. But yeah, OSF, just want to give you kind of closing thoughts, man. Where can we find you? Where can we buy Rekt? How can our community get involved and support you guys?
Yeah, my handle on X is OSF_Rekt, or if you follow Rekt Drinks, it's Rekt Drinks on all our socials: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, etc. And we have our next drinks drop coming up very soon. We'll have some more announcements on that shortly. So keep an eye on the Rekt Drinks handle. And Rekt coin you can buy on Kraken now. You can buy on Binance US if you're in the US, and you know, obviously you can always buy it on chain on Uniswap. We're on ETH, we're on Solana, we're on Base, we're on Binance Smart Chain, we're on Abstract. So many venues to buy it from. Just check out Rekt coin on X.
OSF, man, appreciate your time. Great work, and been a big fan. So looking forward to getting some Rekt drinks. We'll buy them if we have to.
We'll send you some. Don't worry. We'll send you some.
We'll be sipping on the stream, Rob. Rekt, OSF, great brand.
Love it. Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot for having me.
Cheers, man. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks
Cheers,
for coming
bye.
on.